Hello and welcome to Pixel Magic Tutorials. I'm your host Geekman, and today we're going to learn how to create a paper cutout text effect in Photoshop. Now, a couple of assumptions I need to get out of the way right off the bat. Number one, I am using Photoshop CC 2017, so if you're using an earlier version of Photoshop, some of the effects may not work as expected. Second, I am using Windows, so if you're using a Mac, when I say hit the Control key on the keyboard, that means hit the Command key, and when I say hit the Alt key on the keyboard, that means hit the Option key. One last thing for this for this tutorial, I have a little bit of a cold, so my voice is a little scratchy, and I may need a few moments to cough every now and again. But other than that, I'm fine. So let's get started by hitting Control N on the keyboard for the new image dialog box, and then let's name this our paper cutout text, because that's what we're doing. Okay, and our width is going to be 3,840 pixels. Our height is 2,160 pixels. Resolution of 150 pixels per inch. RGB color 8-bit. Our background contents, we're going to click on the little color box there, and we're going to change our color to 517 AA7. Okay, a nice blue color. We're going to hit OK there, and then we're going to go down to our advanced options, and our color profile will be Adobe RGB 1998, and our pixel aspect ratio is square pixels. Hit Create, and we're ready to begin. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go over here. We're going to double click on the background layer here to turn it into a regular editable layer, like so, and we're going to name this as our paper. Okay, we're going to name that paper. Hit OK. And we now have our paper. And what we're going to do is we're going to add two layer effects to this layer to give us a paper texture background to put our cutout through. So the effect is a paper cutout. So this background here, the color blue, that is going to be the topmost layer of the paper. And then the text that we put in will be cut out from this, showing the paper underneath. So that's the paper cutout that we're going to be doing. So we need first to turn this into paper. So we're going to add two layer effects, and those are going to start with gradient overlay. So we're going to start with our gradient overlay right here. As I said, I'm feeling a little sick, so I'm a little scattered today. So here is our overlay, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to make this overlay. Dither is unchecked. Opacity is going to be 30. The gradient that we're using is the standard black and white gradient right here. It says black and white. And we're going to leave reverse unchecked. Align with layer is checked. Style is going to be linear. The angle that we're using is 125 degrees, and our scale is going to be 100%. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a pattern to this. We're going to click on pattern here, and the blend mode that we're using here is going to be multiply. The opacity is going to be at 65%. Oh wait, no, you know what? Let's make that 80. So we're going to make that 80, and the pattern that we're using is this guy right here, which is called, no, that's the wrong one. It's this guy, Dark Gray Flex, okay? And you can find that over here under Grayscale Paper. So if you don't see it, you just go up here to the sprocket, click on that, go down here to Grayscale Paper, and when you see Grayscale Paper pop up, you just hit OK, and then it will be right here, this guy, fourth one down, Dark Gray Flex. Okay, once you see that, you're going to make the scale of 130. So we're going to change this from 100 to 130%. Okay, then we're going to hit OK, because that's all that we need for our background, our foreground paper, I should say. It is our background layer, but it will be our foreground paper. Okay, we're done with all of that. The next thing that we need to do is select our text tool. That's T on the keyboard, or you can go over here to your text tool and select the text tool. Now the first thing that we want to do is we want to get our color correct, and we're going to want kind of a pinkish red color for this. So we're going to click on the foreground color here, or if you wish, with the text tool options, you can click up here for the text tool color, and then what we're going to do is we're going to change this color to F7 5454, which is this kind of reddish pinkish kind of color. Okay, we're going to hit OK, and that is our color. And the font that I'm using is a free font. I have a link in the description below where you can download it, and it's called Cardigan Titling, and I'm using the bold version of it. And the size that I'm going to use is not going to be 89.18. The size that I use is going to be 260 points, okay, and I'm using sharp here. All right, now if you go over here to character, and if you don't see character, you can go up to window and open up your character palette, and you just want to make sure that under your character palette that you are at 260, that your color is the same. Bold, you want 0 for your spacing here, and you want to make sure that you are on all caps. Okay, now all caps is important for paper cutouts because the paper cutout effect looks best when all the letters are capitalized. So that's why I'm using that. Now, if you decide that you don't want to use all capitalization, that's fine. Do it any way that you want, but I'm going to use all caps. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're just going to click anywhere on our image to create a new text layer, and we're going to type in our text, and as usual, I will use Pixel Magic because that's what I always use. Okay, and once you have that, you can go back to your Move tool, and you can just center this on your layer like so. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to put in some effects here to make this look as if it were cut out of the blue background here. Okay, so the way that we're going to do that is all with layer effects. Excuse me, that's my voice cracking because I'm not feeling so great. All right, so we're going to do this all with layer effects, but it is a lot of layer effects. So I'm going to go through this as quick as I can because you just need to know what the layer effects options are, and then you've got this effect forever. Once it's done, you can save it over here as a style, and then you can use it wherever you want for whatever you want. Okay, so let's get started by going to our layer styles down here, and we're going to start with a bevel and emboss. Okay, now the bevel and emboss starts out pretty easy. We're going to go with an inner bevel. Technique is going to be smooth. Okay, we're going to go depth of 100, direction is up, size is 150, soften is 5. Okay, our angle is going to be 135 degrees, and make sure to uncheck use global light. We don't use it for anything usually, so you can just automatically assume that it's unchecked for anything that you want to do. Okay, so 135 degrees is the angle. The altitude is going to be 40. Okay, we're going to use the gloss contour of linear, which is the very first one, or the default. Anti-alias is unchecked. Our highlight mode is screen. The color that we're using is white, which is all Fs. F, 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 F. Opacity is only going to be 10%. Shadow mode is going to be linear burn, and the color that we're using is a darker version of our background color for the paper. Okay, so if you chose a different color for your paper, then you want to use a darker version of that paper. Now I'm using this blue, so the background color that I'm using is this guy, 2A4565. Okay, but feel free to mess around with that. You can use just about any color. The opacity is 15%. You're just giving it kind of a slight hint of a shadow on the inside for that. It's not really all that important to be specific with that color. As long as it's somewhere in the color range of your background color and a little bit darker, you're fine. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do after we've got this, and linear burn, we're using that color, and the opacity here is 15%. All right, next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add in a bunch of inner shadows. You can see them all laid out here. Now, if you only have one inner shadow showing, you have this plus icon here. You just add that, and there should be 6 inner shadows. So the topmost one that we are working with here is going to be a blend mode of screen. Color is going to be white, which is all Fs. Opacity is going to be 40%. Angle is -45. Use global light, of course, is unchecked. Distance is 2. Choke is 0. Size is 5. Contour is linear, which is the default. Anti-alias is unchecked. Noise is going to be 10. The next inner shadow that we go to, which is right below the top one, blend mode is going to be linear dodge add. Okay, color again is white, which is all Fs. Opacity is 20%. Angle is going to be -45. Use global light unchecked. Distance is 1. Choke is 0. Size is 1. Contour is going to be linear again, anti-alias unchecked, and our noise is only going to be 5%. Okay, our next inner shadow that we put in here is going to be a blend mode of multiply. We're going to use black this time, so it's going to be black, which is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, or all zeros. Okay, our opacity here is going to be 35%. Angle is going to be 135. Use global light is unchecked, of course. Distance 2, choke 0, size 5, contour linear, anti-alias unchecked, and noise is going to be 10%. Okay, now we're down to the last three inner shadows. This one here is going to be multiply. It's black again. That's all zeros. Opacity is 90%. Angle is 135. Distance is 1. Choke is 0. Size is 1. Contour is going to be linear. Anti-alias unchecked. Noise is 10%. Okay, second from the bottom of the inner shadows, we're going to do another multiply, black again, which is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Opacity of 25%, angle of 135, use global light unchecked, of course. Distance 5, choke 0, size is 10. Contour is going to be linear, anti-alias is unchecked, and noise is going to be 5%. And our final inner shadow for this effect is going to be blend mode of multiply. Excuse me. Our color, again, is going to be black, which is all zeros. Opacity is 60%. Angle is 135. Use global light is unchecked. Distance 2. Choke 0. Size 5. Linear. Anti-alias is off, and noise is 5%. Okay, now I blew through those as quick as I could, but you can always pause the video if you need to look at them quicker, or longer, I mean. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in a pattern to our text so that it looks like it is paper behind the text. Okay, so we're going to go down here to our pattern overlay, okay, and we're going to use a blend mode of multiply. The opacity here is only going to be 65%. The pattern is going to be the exact same pattern, which is this dark gray flex. Okay, our scale is going to be at 100. Okay, so it's slightly different than the paper that we're using up on front. Okay, and the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in a bunch of drop shadows, and that will help separate our, or at least make it look as if our text has been punched through the topmost layer. Well, as you can see here, it's the bottommost layer of our layer palette, but it will look as if it is the top layer of paper. Okay, so the topmost drop shadow, and there should be 4 of them, so if you don't see 4, or if you've only got 1 drop shadow here, just hit plus here 3 times, and you will then have 4 drop shadows. And the topmost drop shadow, the one at the top, is going to be a blend mode of overlay. Okay, and we're going to use white. That's all Fs. F, 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 F. Opacity is going to be 10%. Angle is negative 45. Use global light again, unchecked. We never use it. Distance is going to be 20. Spread is going to be 0. Size is going to be 40. Contour is linear. Anti-alias is unchecked, and noise is 10%. Layer knocks out drop shadow is checked. Okay, the next one down is going to be a overlay, white this time, all Fs. Opacity is only 15%. Angle is going to be negative 45. Use global light is unchecked. Distance of 40. Spread of 0. Size of 50. Contour is going to be linear. Anti-alias is unchecked. Noise is 10. And layer knocks out drop shadow is checked. Second to last one here is going to be a blend mode of screen. We're using white again. That's all Fs. Opacity is going to be 40%. Angle is negative 45. Use global light unchecked. Distance is 2. Spread is 0. Size is 5. Contour is going to be linear. Anti-alias unchecked. Noise is 10. And layer knocks out drop shadow is checked. And our final drop shadow is going to be linear burn, and we are using black. That's all 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Opacity is going to be 15%. Angle is 135. Use global light unchecked, of course. Distance is 2. Spread is 0. Size is 5. Contour is linear. That's the default. Anti-alias is unchecked, and noise is 5%. And layer knocks out drop shadow is checked. Once you have all of that, you can hit OK, and you now have text that looks as if it has been punched through or cut out of paper. Okay, now the thing that I want to show you that's important here, if I zoom into 100%, which is Control 1 on your keyboard, you can see that it looks as if it has been cut out. You've got a subtle shadow here that looks like this paper is on top, and because you've got these highlights and shadows all over the place here, it does look as if the paper has slightly curled. Okay, so this L kind of looks, instead of looking like a straight line, it looks almost as if it curves slightly, as if it curled up from being cut out. And that's kind of the effect that you're looking for. Now, if you really wanted this effect to look like it was cut out of the paper, then what I would suggest is you do this effect for each letter, and then you slightly make each letter slightly askew, and that will make the curls look slightly different. So if we're going with this L, for example, being at 90 degrees right here, right? So it's perfectly flat. okay? If we were to make it like 91 or 92 degrees, it would look as if it were slightly more askew than this E, and it would look like the paper here had curled slightly more because by definition, when you turn it slightly and change its angle, the shadows and highlights would also slightly change. So that's what you can do to really make this effect stand out. But as it is, it does still look as if it were cut out. This text was cut out of the blue paper, showing the red paper underneath, which is the effect that we're going for with paper cutout text. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe. I do new tutorials every Tuesday. And once again, this is Geekman signing off for Pixel Magic Tutorials.